Brothers and sisters, soldiers and soldierettes, if we are alive and breathing, guess what? We are back to conquer another day and another day and another day. And welcome to another edition of EBX Discussion. Much appreciation. Thank those that have been riding along. Like I always say, current subscribers, new subscribers, anyone that view. I appreciate you, especially if you got something out of it and it was an impact, positive impact on your life. That's my goal, to reach the minds, hearts, and the souls of the young and the old. So thank you, and salute to all the reachers and teachers out there and people who pushing out good energy by any means necessary. Salute and thank you, because I have learned from those, whether in my family or outside my family. Let's get to those honors, shall we? Honor thy ancestors and anyone in our families that we held dear. Man, if they transition, may they rest in peace and in power. And also, if they were righteous and were a good impact, may their spirit live among us. And anybody in our family, all of our families, may they prosper, and everything we touch turn to gold. Always got to keep fighting, always got to stay aware, and always got to stay focused. And this, I just wanted to speak on, acknowledging things and being aware of things maybe on the outside of our families and maybe inside of our families. And they could be young or old. But in this case, it's going to be my granddad. We have to learn to appreciate the gifts that's in our DNA. I'm going to say that again. We have to learn to appreciate and acknowledge the gifts in our DNA. And also in my grandma. And, of course, my mom, my dad, it's in our families. If we pay attention, we can see the different gifts and the different things we have that are unique in our families. And one thing that's unique in my family is a lot of us have a good ear for music. And this is my granddad here on my banner. And his name is Charlie L. Farmer. This is my granddad. And if you look at my my picture here on my channel, you'll see the resemblance. That's the gentleman in the middle there, the lighter one. The two gentlemen, in the middle of the gentleman on the outside. That's my granddad. And that's where that musical ability in me and talent stems from, as well as a lot of other members in my family. Because like I said, we all have it in our DNA. We all have different gifts, whether it's cooking, whether it's nursing, because I got nurses in my family. We got chefs in my family. We got those with a musical ear, And it's just something I was meditating on. And even though we get great gifts and great things from that great divine, it comes through our DNA. Mom, dad, granddad, grandma, And I'll be doing a story on my grandma too. And she has great abilities, great gifts. She had that strength to hold the family together, And my grandma was a thinker, and she was very organized and very disciplined. And she lived out her life. She watched her kids grow. And that's a complete life to me, brothers and sisters. When we can fulfill our life and see our children grow, see ourselves grow, and see the things and get the things that we need, and see the things that we have been working for be achieved and accomplished before we leave this place. So, and, my grandma, of course, she started it all. Everything started with the grandma, right? But, may my grandma rest in peace and in power, Love you, grandma. And we gonna talk about granddad, Charlie Farmer, right? Well, like I said, right here on my banner. It was a time, for a long time, I didn't even know my granddad was in a band. Didn't know nothing about it. And I always wondered, just like many of us in my family, I always wondered why I would have these certain urges, like music and, it's other things too. But my main passion, my main love is music. And it's always in my soul, and it never leaves. Even when I feel like I love hip hop. I love all music, but my favorite is hip hop. And I still write to this day. And been doing hip hop since the 90s, just studying it and getting better at it, and just cultivating it, And I've achieved my goal. My goal was to get those to like it, get a good vibration from it and support it. And I've gotten that, even though it's not on a big scale, a wide scale. But when we move with that divine, we don't do things for the attention and to status. Things like those will come because when we are true with oneself, when we know oneself, as I'm sure my granddad did, even though he was in a different time, might have had a different mindset, but he was solid. He might not did everything perfect, but he watched his family grow and he was in the household. And that means a lot to me, because it can be very challenging to be a husband, to be that king, that leader in that household. But at the end of the day, there's benefits when you do it, and the benefits is seeing the results in the children, and your wife or your girlfriend, and my granddad wasn't perfect, but he did everything he was supposed to do as a man, as a black man. That was needed. He did it. So if I want to get back to the musical talent that I didn't know my granddad had, I've never heard stories about it. Just happened to go to my mom's house one day and she had a photo and I was like, Granddad was in the band? I didn't know that. I was amazed by that. And that was one of those things that connected the dots of why I always have this fiery desire to do music, especially hip hop. And it's always in my soul. I'm always aching to do music. If I haven't done music in a while, I'm almost like a crackhead. I be fiending. So sometimes things that we are meant to do, that we have a burning desire for, a lot of it comes from our DNA of our family. And I'll say again, appreciate those gifts that we have that come from that divine through our DNA of our family. And even though, it's different generations, different mindsets, different times, you have to be empathic. And just remember, time always changes. Mindsets are different. And most, like back in the time when my granddaddy was around my age, so to speak, I'm sure times were way a lot different than they are now. But just think about it. The access that a lot of brothers like him, back in them days, didn't have access to a lot of things, but he made it all the way through, and he completed the mission. He's seen his children grow. He's seen some of his grandchildren, and my granddad and my grandma grew old together, and that's beautiful. And it's a rarity, a lot is kind of thinning out. We don't see that much anymore. So that's why I say being empathic, put yourself in back into like the Martin Luther King days and back when we didn't have social media and how hard it was to get a platform to speak to the people, So I put myself in that space, and that's why I don't complain a lot, and I analyze and observe things. And I think of those that didn't have the access that a lot of us have now and still were strong black men. And I appreciate that. And that's why I say appreciate the gifts that we have in our DNA. If my granddaddy had that strength, and a lot of members of my family, well, I could say all my family, through our challenges, very strong, and everybody goes through a learning process, it just depends on that individual, but it's in my family's DNA. We're all strong, disciplined, working people. We all have been through our little challenges, our downtime, our low times. Nobody has, been disciplined and organized their whole life. We did things in our lives, or things happened in our lives to make us become disciplined and organized. So that's how I look at my granddad, worked his job all the way up until he retired. He was dealing in his space. He was working within the space that he was dealt, or the cards he was dealt in his time, but he still pushed through. He might not have been the most, I think my granddad was spiritual, but he might not have been deeply, deeply spiritual, but I think he was tapped into that spiritual world, especially when it comes to the music. And I never heard any of his music, so I don't know what style of music he might have sang, or I don't even know. I have to ask my mom what the name of the band was. But I was very amazed. So, and that's why I say that's what that musical ability comes from, my brothers and sisters. When you hear my hip hop on my channel, and if you hear music from my son or anybody else I might have on my channel, and it's a lot of, I have a family members, and unfortunately I had a a cousin that was very talented in music, and she transitioned maybe a couple years ago. May she rest in peace and in power. And she went by the name of L'Oreal Lyrical. And we have a song that we did right here on my channel. If you want to check it out, it's called Stop the Violence. And she's on the thumbnail of that and the banner. And she's in the song. So, and my cousin was very talented. She knew how to speak Spanish. She could rap in Spanish. She was so intelligent, it was ridiculous. I mean, this computer shit was nothing to her. It was nothing. It was almost like a hobby. That's how good she was at it. She was good at a lot of things. So rest in peace, cuz. And that's why I say, it's in all of our DNAs. If we check our families, history, and draw the good things, the good gifts. Don't always look at the negatives. Negative things are going to come. Negative things are going to happen. It just all depends on that individual, brother, sister, family member, significant other, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. It all depends on how we are within, and if we're connected to that divine. I don't care how many times y'all hear me say that. If you are not truly connected to that divine within, and not seeing clear, and not looking to grow and overcome things, be strong, and would be willing to try and step in, things are always going to be challenging. If you don't, you got to go through them storms, whether you want to or not. Great divine's not going to do everything for us, but that force will give us that power. We all have it, especially if we're melanin. If we got melanin, we have that divine spirit within. We have those gifts, but it's always up to that individual to go in, draw it out. Whatever it is, it's many gifts. Never size down to one, don't matter what it is. Long as it's a what? Righteous impact. And I just wanted to speak a little bit on that, about revealing and manifesting great things from our DNA that come from that great divine. And like I say, I said that on the past podcast, when we focus at great divine, always show love. And that love will come in our meditation times, through our family members, friends, maybe something we experience while we're out in the world, but we have to be in that space. We can't be in that beat down, defeated, unsure, doubting. How can you get to achieve your goal if you're always doubting yourself, and you're not, and you just let yourself stay there and drown, because Father Time don't give a fuck how we feel. Mother Nature don't give a damn how we feel. Time is going to do what it do. And what is the old saying that a lot of us say? Time waits for no man or woman. So the more time we waste, the more time we lose. Because like I said on a small clip, stop and smell the roses. Negative energy can cost you. Just depends on who we are. When we wake up, we all have been in a negative space. But those who are strong and refuse to be negative will do things to stay from that, and do things that keep us inspired and wanting us to grow and do better. And that's what I get from this banner here, from my granddad, and always keep him in my spirit. That's why I always say, honor our ancestors, our family members. I always try to keep that in my spirit, because I always say, when you keep a family heart, when you keep your family in your spirit, it keeps you from being selfish. And I always will keep my granddad and my grandma and anybody else in my family that transition. Will always keep their spirit alive. Like my auntie. I had an auntie that actually helped me get the car I got now. It's an 89 Buick, still got it. And, and that's the last thing I remember, the last great thing my auntie gave me before she transitioned, And that hit hard. A lot of the transitions in my family hit hard. But, it's just some just seem to hit different than others. And I was numb for a long time, after she transitioned. It's a tough thing. That's why we should remember our family members. Keep them in our spirit, That's why I say, appreciate the gifts that's in our DNA. And I thank my granddad for this great gift that I have got. Now I know where it come from. And so appreciative of it. And I'm also appreciative of those who appreciate the music I do. And guess what? I also salute all those others that have a passion like I do for music, whether it's hip hop, another genre. I'm talking about real music, not none of that bullshit. I'm talking about something with substance. That's what I'm about. High infinite power, helping our people. HIP, HOP. I'll say that from time to time because that's the kind of energy that we need to put into our hip hop, because children are very impressionable. And a lot of times, and I'm in a circle of children. So I'm always thinking about the kids, whether it's young or old. So that's why it's important and this is a good example for children, so they can look at the good qualities in their parents. Parents are not going to be perfect, but a lot of times a good child makes a good parent, and a good parent makes a good child. Of course, we're going to have challenges and ups and downs, but if we're wise as adults, as parents, we'll overstand because we have been children too. So long as we can just keep that in our spirit and just try to communicate and stay open, things will always be able to be worked out. Solutions will come about. Results, the goal should always be results and having a solution. That should always be the goal. So again, I thank my granddad, and I'm sure a lot of these things that's in me that I feel, my wise things, I'm sure some of that stem from him, because everything began with my grandma and my granddad, So I thank the great divine for the DNA of my mom, my dad, and again, I salute my granddad for what he contributed to the family, what he brought into this world. I appreciate him and I appreciate my mom and dad, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my mom and dad. And I got gifts from my mom too, and my dad. I've noticed little things. It's like when we get older and we really focus and pay attention, we'll start seeing little gifts that have manifested from our parents. And it's so freaking beautiful. So that's how I came to this conclusion about my granddad. And don't they look cool there on the banner? Isn't that cool? And I just wonder, I don't know, I wonder if that was before a show or after a show. And it's just so cool to see him there in that suit, in that group. It's really cool. And I now understand, and understand where my musical ability and talent stems from, as well as my mom, my dad, and my grandma, So even though we get those great blessings from the higher force above, and it also sends that great blessings through the DNA of our family. Just check your history. Just marinate, meditate on the great gifts of the DNA of our families. Appreciate the great gifts in the DNA of our families. And just sit back and just be in amazement. It's very beautiful. And we keep that spirit rekindled. We keep it strong, and we exhort that great righteous gift from our DNA and our spirit, and we pour it out. We fill it up, let it fill it up within, and we pour it out onto the world, because there's always those out there that could use some encouragement. And everybody has their own little different situations with our families, and everybody's different in their part of the world. But I will be one of those that will always encourage to love the good parts of our families. Don't always look at the negatives, if it's possible. Like I said, everybody's situation's different. But that's just something I'm always going to encourage and put out that good energy, no matter what, even if I'm going through a challenge, because we are one with that divine, great brothers and sisters. Great divine knows all, sees all, runs all this shit. That's our centering mechanism. Remember that. So, and the great divine is not going to do everything for us. We have to put in the work. Great divine gave us life. We breathing. Some of us get a little fucking ungrateful. Real talk. Because as quick as much as that great divine give us life, it also can allow it to be taken away. And I ain't talking about death, because you can be the walking dead. You can be alive and still be dead. So let's be alive, brothers and sisters. And again, I salute my granddad for the great things he contribute to the family, as well as my granddad, mom, and dad. And thank you, Granddad, for the great gifts that you have given me. And forever and ever, brothers and sisters, family, children, those who are viewing. Appreciate the good qualities and the gifts in the DNA of our families. Real talk. So that's my thought. And I give honor, salute to those who've been coming in. Thank you for always joining another edition of EBX Discussions. Salute. Thank you. Much love. Salute to the reachers and teachers out there. Keep doing your thing. Salute. And I give honor to your family, my family. Salute. Honor my children, their mothers, brothers and sisters all over the world. May you have the ultimate peace in your part of the world, wherever you are right now. Salute.